Hello, welcome to Sheffield the Board Gamers podcast. My name is Rick, and I'm joined today by Samuel. Hello, Samuel.
Hi, Rick.
Hello, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking to me.
No problem.
This is episode 61. We're going to talk about some of the games that we've been playing recently at the club. We've also got a question of the week, which is, what's the most thematic game that you've played? I can think of a few off the top of my head, but it'd be interesting to have a chat to you about that. But before that, I don't know if you've seen this already, but there's a new board game cafe opened in Sheffield.
Yes, Gamer's Guide.
Called Gamer's Guide. Yes, I didn't realise that. Yeah, I saw them on Facebook being advertised. I've not actually been yet, but I mean it's calling at some point. I'm going to pop down. It's just next to the cathedral.
It is, yeah, next to the Lego Cafe. I haven't been yet either, but again, hoping to go. Should be going at some point.
Yeah, I thought it was the Lego place, but apparently I think that's next door, I think.
Yeah, it's next door to the Lego Cafe, yeah. It's run by a neurodiverse couple, I believe.
Oh, right, okay.
Website. I've known about it for a few months, just haven't got around to going yet, so it'll be interesting to see how it compares to Treehouse.
Yes, yeah. Obviously, we've got Treehouse. The only problem with Treehouse, I think, it's a little bit out of the way. It's a little bit out of the...
Yeah, not the easiest to find, necessarily.
Yeah, and this is like bang in the centre. This is like right next to the trams where the buses stop.
There'll be a lot of regulars at the Treehouse, so they'll know where to go.
Yeah.
It's, getting very well known now, so I suppose.
Yeah. It's whenever I've been down, it's always been busy. But this one, I had a look at the website as well. Looks like they do nice food, and they've got beers on tap.
Stuff, yeah.
Like draft beers and things.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely make an effort to pop in at some point and see what it's like, and we'll have to report back once we've been. And
I'm hoping should be going
know what
in
it's
April.
like.
Well, hopefully going in April at some point.
All right, okay. I think they've got a library as well where you can borrow games, obviously play them while you're there. So
yeah, similar kind of thing.
But
see how the competition goes as well, whether it causes problems for either one. But shouldn't think it would. It's only those two in Sheffield.
Yeah, it seems to be becoming a good place for games in general. They've got the video game museum and
there's a video game cafe as well. Just
Outpost. The video game.
There's Extra
cafe.
Life Gaming Lounge as well.
Yeah. There's loads in Sheffield, so it's
a few things.
I think it's probably the students that help that because it's a big student city and there's a lot of student population in that area, so that probably helps quite a bit.
Yeah, certainly age-wise, it's quite a big demographic.
So definitely going to make an effort to call in at some point and try out some of the food and see what it's like. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, should be good.
Have you been able to do anything recently, or?
I was actually at the Treehouse yesterday for a gaming session with the group I'm in. Just playtesting, other than that. Oh yeah. Obviously the usual board game sessions, but just to go to the playtesting sessions at Patriot and at the Treehouse, which is all going well. Last couple of Treehouse ones have been very busy.
Right.
So that's been good.
Obviously, Treehouse they've been running for a few years now, so they've got everything. They've got a massive library. They do really nice food. They're quite well established, aren't they? So they know how to do things there. The tables are all pretty good. The seats are comfortable. It's they've put a lot of effort and a lot of work into getting it. Yeah,
they've just done a user feedback. They've just done a user feedback survey in the last couple of months. Beginning of this year, asking for feedback, which I filled in.
All right, yeah.
And I had an email 2 or 3 weeks ago about sort of the results of that. They've now added a little cubby hole in the middle of the games, sort of dice trays and card holders and component holders.
That's a good idea.
For if you need them, which has been requested quite a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And things like that, I pointed out a few of the things that they do offer, but you might not know. Like, for example, if you're booking for 2, you can ask for a bigger table.
Right.
In the notes, they can give you a bigger table because gone as half of a 2 on a few times, and you do get the small table. So some games like Ark Nova or whatever you haven't got the space to play them, but they do play well up too. So that was useful for me to learn. Because I might do that if I'm going with a friend again.
Yeah.
If you want to play a larger game, it's quite helpful.
Yeah. Yes, right. Okay, so shall we move on to some of the games that we played recently then?
Yes.
I've only got some little games this month. I've played some longer games as well, but I'm just going to talk about small ones. I'm not going to talk about this too much, but I've finally got a chance to play Harmonies. I think you've talked about this before, and Liz talked about it.
I've played that before, it's come up,
I enjoyed it, it's a good game. I really enjoyed that one. We played a little party game called Noggin.
I have played that.
Yeah, it's basically a card game. It's like a little quick filler. It takes literally 10 minutes to play. There's a small deck, and it's basically made up of letters of the alphabet. But mixed in with those as well is a few action cards. So everybody gets dealt a small deck. So the deck gets dealt out to all the players face down, and then face up in the middle of the table you put 3 letters. So it could be 3 random letters from the deck. And then these action cards are things like you have to make a word that's either starting and ending with that letter. So if you've got a B and an A on the table, for example, you could say banana, or you might have to think of a word that's got it in the middle but not at the start and the end, or a person's initials. There's a few different action cards. So people are basically flipping cards onto the piles that are on the table, and then eventually one of these action cards will come out, and then whoever shouts out an answer first, they'll get the bonus point. They'll get like a point. I thought it was a quick little.
You take the action card and count that.
Yeah, that counts as like your score at the end of the game, doesn't it?
If the 3 letters in the middle spell out a word in clockwise order, you can shout that out to steal a card from somebody as well.
Yeah. So we were watching that like a hawk. We were keeping an eye out for words, because if you get a vowel out, you can you can play a card on any of those 3 piles that are in the middle.
Yeah,
so you can kind of play it a little bit and try and make a word and shout it out. But then obviously other people are watching as well to see that.
Yeah, so then if you've played an action card, it's the other 2 letters. The 2 piles will give you the letters for that.
And the other thing as well is you can't really think of a word and keep it in your head, because people are playing letter cards all the time. So if you've got a combination, it's always changing.
Yeah.
So as somebody plays one, you've basically got to think off your top of your head, which for my aging brain wasn't I wasn't the quickest at that. But.
Yeah, some categories is definitely easier. The initials definitely prompts the most thinking time. Well, like a couple of games I've played, that could often. I mean, it can be you can get tricky initials.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't think of anybody.
It did suffer from that problem of people shouting out something at the same time, and you just have to duplicate or say it's a draw or something.
Draw and then put that one aside, and the next somebody gets that one.
It's a quick little filler. Take, like I said, literally 10 minutes to play. It's only a small deck of cards.
Yeah.
If you're waiting for somebody to finish a game, or if it's towards the end of the night, I wouldn't mind playing it again. It's not like amazing or anything.
Yeah, but good little testing knowledge as well.
Yeah. So that was my first one, Noggin.
Well, my first one will go the sort of other end of the time scale, if you like, a little bit, because this took me the whole session. We played it for the whole session and still didn't actually finish it, which was The Witcher Old World, which is based on the Witcher series of games and now TV shows as well, and is actually a competitive game. You're competing to be the best Witcher, essentially, and you're competing to try and get trophies. It's first to 4 trophies, although we only got to 3, but I think that's partly because we were playing with the full player count of 5.
Yeah.
And we decided afterwards actually it works better at 3 or 2 or 3, because there was a lot of downtime at 5. It would take it ages. There's a map. Part sort of 2/3 of the board is the map of the continent which is set in. Rivia, maybe not Rivia, I don't know. And you have a trainee Witcher. Your turn is divided into 3 parts. So the first part, you can move about the board by discarding cards from your hand with matching terrain icons, or you can spend any 2 or any 1 plus a gold if you haven't got the right ones. So that's to move to places and then interact with them and do whatever the action on that space is. Then once you've done doing all that, you can then either do a town have a town interaction or a wilderness interaction, which is a bit like the Crossroads types things in Dead of Winter, where you get a card and you read it out and you choose some options. You get some options to pick from, and then you pick one and something happens. And you might get some rewards or penalties. So you do one of those, or you can fight a monster if there's one there, or you can actually fight another player if you're at a location with another player as well. And then once you've done all that, you can then well, you didn't have to buy another card for your deck, because there's some light deck building elements in it, because the cards that you have, you discard them to move, but they're also all used in battles, and your deck is also your life count. So when your deck's empty or run out, and your hand's empty, you've got no life left. The battles, if you're playing fighting a monster, the fighting bit was actually my favourite bit of the game, because the cards have got a clever combo system, because they've all got kind of strips on the left hand side of one of 5 different colours, and then they've got like little extra tabs on them, and if something's got a tab on it, that means you can then combine that with a card of that tab's colour in a combo, and then if that one's got a tab on it, you can combine that one with another one, so you can sort of chain several cards together, and so that can give you various, chain their bonuses together and get more attack, more defence for the next turn, things like that. Sometimes the effect is that you can take the card back into your hand again, because normally it would get discarded. As you're playing cards and attacking the monster, you're getting weaker, because as I said, the deck is your deck of cards is your life pool as well. And it's similar for the monster. The monster has a set deck of cards, and you shuffle it and get a number equal to the monster's health, and then each turn somebody plays as the monster, and they choose to do, I think it's something like bite or charge, and then they turn over the card and then do whichever one of those they picked, which will do damage or something else, like force you to discard a card or something like that, and whoever's deck runs out first wins. And you don't die at any point. If you don't beat the monster, you just don't beat the monster. Nothing happens particularly. If you nearly beat the monster gets chased away. And if you beat the monster, you get a trophy. Or if you beat another player, I think you get a trophy as well. And it's, like I said, it's first to 4 trophies. So the game's kind of going around the board, improving your deck a bit, doing things, improving your character's got skills as well on the board, which sort of determines things like how many cards you draw around in combat, how much shield you've got, things like that. Each witch has their own personal skill as well, or give them a special ability. I quite enjoyed it. There was a lot of downtime with 5. I would not recommend playing probably at more than 3, really. But I think you've played that with James, didn't you? Actually, I seem to remember.
We played it a while ago. I've only played it once, but we just played it 2-player, and that was fine. It still took a couple of hours, I think, though, to play, so it's still quite long. So I can imagine. Yeah, it's
a longish one, because each turn's quite long. And then, if you're fighting a person or a monster, you then have to, that makes the turn take a bit longer, because then the fight takes a while. Especially because we were all new, apart from James, we were all new players. So it's a bit frustrating. Particularly at one point when we had one of the players had a fight with the monster, which James, who sat next to him, was doing monsters, so the 3 of us weren't doing anything. Then it was James's turn, and he probably thought the player had just had a turn. Right. So then all 3 weren't doing anything again. It's like, oh, for goodness sakes. It was a bit, the downtime was rather excessive at 5, but a combination of the number of players, the fact we were learning, and the nature of a turn, I think. You will be doing some interactions where it's not your turn, because you'll be reading out a card to a player, or maybe being a monster, or maybe being attacked as a player.
It's a nice nice production, isn't it? It's a nice big box, loads of cards, loads of nice minis, monsters, and
all kinds of expansions you can get as well. Yeah,
there's quite a lot of content in there, and it's
it's probably a simpler game than it looks from the sort of the box and the thing, mechanically. But yes, just not so good with.
I think it kind of.
As some games are.
Yeah, if you wanted to play a Witcher game with loads of adventures and monster fighting and going around the map and stuff like that, this is probably what you kind of be expecting. If they made it a Euro game, or if they made it more,
Yeah, it's not the. I wouldn't say it's the deepest game in that sense. I mean, I can't entirely remember what the expansions had, but I know there's quite a few you can add.
Yeah.
So I know you could make it more complex if you wanted to.
I thought it was a bit strange that you could attack other players as well, especially in a 2-player game. It was it's a bit weird.
But it is competitive, so I guess you're sort of
kind of blocking them and
be the best Witcher. But I did like the card chaining mechanic and that bit. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah,
but it got some nice combos. One of the players I was playing against managed to get himself a combo where he's putting down some cards. That gave him 4 shield, and then he could take those cards back into his hand, so he was getting 4 shield every turn. So he had something to do at least 5 damage to even damage him every turn. So that was quite a powerful combo. And of course, because he was taking the back up, I mean, his health wasn't going down either. So that was extremely powerful. And I myself was able to chain a few cards together, which was quite nice.
So my next one is a game called Startups. I think this is an Oink.
Yeah, I've played this a few times.
I think you've played it before, haven't you? Yeah, it's one of those that comes in a little. I don't know if it is by Oink.
It is by Oink.
Yeah, and it comes in those little boxes that they release a lot of their games in. It's basically a card game, and there's a couple of tokens in there, so there's not much in the box really, but it's a really small little pocket game. It's quite hard to describe, I think.
Yeah.
I think the first time, we had a few new players. It's quite hard to describe, and you probably need to play it once to get an idea of how it works and what you're trying to do. There's basically a deck of cards, and in there are different suits, which are the companies. I think there's 6 different suits, 6 different companies, but importantly in different denominations as well. So there's more of some cards than there are of others. So there might only be 5 of one particular company, but there's 10 at the other end. There's 10 of another company. Yeah. So on your turn, basically what you'll do is you'll have a hand of cards, and then you can draw one. There'll be either a display of a couple of cards face up, or you can draw one from the deck. But if you draw one from the deck, you have to put a coin on each of the ones that are face up in the display. So if there's 3 cards there that are face up, that could be quite expensive, but you might not want any of those, so it might be worth paying to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's very rarely 3 face up.
Yeah, they do tend to go quite quickly. But basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect sets of cards towards the end of the game. And then
you're trying to get the majority.
But if you get majority during the game, you get a little token, and that means you can't pick up any more face-up cards
of that
particular suit, of that particular company. So that kind of limits you a little bit. You might start with a hand of 3 of the same cards, but then as soon as you start playing that, you're going to have the most, and suddenly you can't put any more down. But one of the cool things is that at the end of the game, you'll have 3 cards left in your hand. They get played into your display. So you might be hanging on to certain cards to try and snipe somebody else, or you might see somebody picking up a certain company, and then you think, I might as well jump out of that because it's not going to be worth my while. I'll move on to something else instead and try and collect a different colour. It's quite interesting. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It's another quick kind of filler game. It probably takes longer to explain than it does to play to get your head round. But once you've kind of got your head around it, it is kind of a fun little game where you're kind of watching what other people are picking up and what they're putting down. And do you want to it's when you risk, going into it, you're going to commit to getting, some of the cards played out in front of you, because if you don't get any majorities at the end, then you're not going to win anything. So you need to commit to 1, maybe 2, at least, to try and win something. So you can play it in a number of rounds as well. Yeah, like I say, it is only a quick game, so they've put like a little token in there for like plus and negative points, so that if you've won a game, you get a couple of points, and then you start up again, and you can play like a couple of rounds to get like a final score. But you can just play 1 round and see who wins. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's pretty quick, good fun.
Yes, I like that one. I've played it quite a few times. It's quite nice tactics. Can you I quite like the. Oh, I've now put this down. Sorry, I've sniped you. It's quite fun. Get the right things.
All the cards people have played are all face up in front of them, so you can see.
Yeah.
You can see what they think they're going for, but then you can also see what they've got majorities in, because they're highlighted by these big tokens.
Yeah, and you can't card count either, because you've 5 cards taken out.
Some are taken out at the start, aren't they? Yeah.
So it makes it a bit tricky to know exactly what's in.
So the games that we played, I think there's 10 tens in the deck. Yeah. And 3 of them were taken out at the start of the game, so that was kind of limiting to that.
Both times.
To the ones that were, people are trying to catch up on that company, and suddenly, you find that you're short of a few cards that you thought were going to turn up, and they just don't turn up. So, that adds a bit of randomness to it. It's one of those games where, you can do really badly or you can do really well. What you kind of play out, depending on the strategy that you're going for. But it's that quick a game, but it doesn't really matter. It's still good fun to try and figure out what people are going for. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and like I say, it's a tiny little pocket game.
One, and it plays up to 7 as well.
Oh, is it 7? Yeah, I thought it was 6, but yeah, plays quite a lot as well, doesn't it? Yeah, that's interesting, because it's not. I wouldn't really classify it as a party game. It is a proper card game.
Yeah, it's more thinking.
But plays up to 7. So yeah, that's good. Yeah. So that's another one that I played this month. That is a game called Startups.
So the other game that I've played recently and I'm going to talk about is a game called Moon Colony Blloodbath, which is by Rio Grande Games. It comes out this year. Although, as with most Rio Grande games, it looks like it came out about 15 years ago from the box and everything. Although I didn't mind that too much. So this describes itself as an engine building, engine destroying game. So you're playing as a group of moon-based colonists, I suppose, and you're trying to build up your engine to then survive the inevitable disasters and loss of people and things. And it's actually really I just found it a really nice game, because the core mechanic is there's a central deck of cards which starts off at 8 cards, which has 4 cards that allow you to take an action. One of the actions on your player board, which will be to build a card, get some money, get some food, put boxes on cards which will do things depending on what cards they're on, or draw some cards. So there's 4 cards that allow you to take one of those actions. There's 2 cards of twist cards at the start, which are 2 random cards from a deck of about 20 or so different twists, which will give you sort of do various different things, like allowing you to do an extra action or give you more resources or things like that. And then the other 2 are the bad cards that will add the top event into play. So the events come out the same order each time, and these will mean you've got to pay. They mostly make you lose people. One of them adds robots, which do something fairly similar, and losing people. I think they have other effects as well. The way it works is you shuffle the deck, reveal the top card, and then that happens to everybody at the same time. So if it's doing an action, everybody does that action simultaneously. And once you're done, you reveal the next card, and so on until the deck's finished. Then you shuffle it all up, and then you go again. But each time you go through it, the deck gets bigger because you're adding the events in. People can also add perk cards that give just them something, but also playing certain cards will add other things to the deck as well. So as the game goes on, you get more and more stuff in there.
Yeah.
Some of it good, a lot of it bad.
But there's only one deck and everybody's.
There's only one deck. Yeah, you draw a card. And,
right. Yeah, got you.
So you reveal a card, and everybody does that. It's really neat mechanic. And so you'll start the game. There's not much change. You'll be building a few things, trying to get a bit of an engine into play. And the game does the engine building really nicely. It's sort of the kind of things I like, where when you play this, get an extra thing, or when you take this action, you get extra money, or extra food, or extra this, that, and the other. And then after you've been through the deck a couple of times, you start losing people. And the objective is to have the most people at the end of the game, which ends either when the event deck runs out because you put all the events in the deck that you're going through, or more likely when somebody runs out of people completely, because you start with 30 each, and whenever you put down a building, they have a sort of people value in the top right corner, which is a bit like a points value. And if you run out of just people's tokens on your board, you have to discard one of your buildings and then take that many people. So it's which is where the engine destroying comes in, because of course the buildings are then your engine. So you're starting out by sort of building a few buildings and trying to get your engine going, and then as you lose more and more people, you start having to destroy those buildings,
right?
And so you're sort of fighting to keep your engine alive, and try not to hemorrhage too many people from different accidents and things.
How do you keep track of your people then? Are they just tokens, or do you?
You start with tokens, and then, as I said, the buildings have got a people value in the top corner.
Okay.
Which is how many people they come with.
Yeah.
And so if you discard the building, you then get those as tokens.
It's a Donald X Vaccarino game.
It is, of Dominion fame.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting and hoping that there might be some expansions.
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Sure there will be. But I thoroughly enjoyed that one, because it's sort of up my alley. I do like engine builders and things like that.
Yeah. I think his name on Smith makes me want to play it, but looking at the cover, it looks.
Our first game took an hour and a half with rules explanations.
Yeah.
Second game was probably more like an hour.
Yeah.
So it's not long.
Yeah.
Because it's simultaneous. So even though you play with a full player count of 5, that didn't make a difference this time around.
So did you play it? Did you play it and then play it again afterwards?
Yeah, we played it. We played a couple of games. Yeah.
Oh, it must be good then if people are asking to play it again.
I wanted to play it again straight away, and everyone else was happy to oblige.
Oh, cool. That's good. Yeah, that's a good sign then, isn't it? That everybody enjoyed it. Yeah.
And I quite like the theming as well, which was sort of 1950s.
It's like
stuff.
retro futuristic kind
of Fallout in space type thing, all this kind of thing, which I quite like as a theme.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Just quite fun. The card art's nice and nice and clear. You can see basically see what the card does.
Right.
The icons of the top 2 corners maybe a little bit small, sort of how much it costs, how many people you get.
Right.
But apart from that, they perhaps could be slightly larger. Apart from that, it's very nice. And I like the engine building combined with that sort of nice mechanic of the central deck, which you're going through. It's not something I've seen in too many games, so it definitely stands apart. And the engine making, engine built, destroying as well is a bit different.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice. And you'll get different engines each time because those cards are kind of dealt out at random, and you'll draw from the deck at random.
So the second time you played it, then. Obviously, you know the cards a bit better, and you know how the game plays.
Yeah, I lost the first game and then did a lot better in the second one.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you find that? Yeah, it made more sense, and you were more competitive on the second game. Yeah,
it was the same person who won both games, as it turned out. Yeah. So it depends what sort of cards you get and what kind of engine you end up with a bit, which can be a bit of luck.
Yeah.
Now we suggested afterwards that perhaps. Drafting the opening hands might be a good idea. Which I could certainly add in as a house rule, because I quite like drafting just to make it a bit fair. Because if you end up by fluke with certain cards, it can be a bit potentially be a bit overpowered if you end up with maybe, I don't know. It might help that a bit.
Yeah, it does look good. That it definitely looks like what I want to play. Yeah, maybe if Matt brings it again, we'll see if
it's gone straight onto my to buy list.
Oh, right, cool.
I'm sure I'll be buying it and bringing it.
Right.
I don't think it's quite out in the UK yet.
Oh, is it not? Right. Okay.
May be able to. I shall see if I can find it at Aircon, but I'm not hopeful.
Yeah.
But I shall try and get it at some point in the year.
Yeah.
Because I did like that a lot.
Yeah.
It was really enjoyable.
Cool.
Very much my kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's I think that's the games that we've played this month. Any more from you, or is that?
No, that was everything from me.
So shall we move on to question of the week then?
Yes,
themes in games.
Talk about themes.
So you suggested this as an example. Was this prompted by The Witcher? Because I think that's quite a thematic game, is it, or just?
Possibly, it's just something I'd thought about.
So how important is it for you? Do you find that it means a lot, or are you happy playing abstracts, or do you want something kind of in the middle?
I'm happy playing abstracts. Yeah, it's not the be all and end all for me. I think for me the thing that sort of makes me want to play a game most is sort of the mechanics, and whether it's sort of a style of game I like. Like I was saying, I like engine builders and this kind of thing. There's maybe other types of games I'm less fussed about from a mechanical point of view. I suppose it's maybe a bit like the artwork in that sort of it can make it much more enticing package if it's got a nice sort of theme, even if the mechanics wouldn't be my sort of absolute number one mechanics in the game. A bit like with video games, where sort of the art style can sort of make me go, that looks quite good. I'm sort of less fussed about
I think I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I don't think it's something I particularly look for. As long as it's a good game, I'll play it, whether it's got a great theme or not. But obviously sometimes it helps with getting people into the game if it looks nice and it's got a theme that people are interested in, rather than a standard theme or something that's got sort of more or less in the background. I guess.
Yeah, it's nice to have varied themes can be quite nice. You don't want to be playing endless fantasy games or things like that. It helps it to stand out as well, and it can stand out on the shelf. So if you're looking at it in shops, you can go, that looks interesting looking font or whatever, or that's an interesting looking theme. I haven't seen something like that before. I
think it's quite a tricky thing in board games, because obviously most of them are fairly abstract anyway, even the ones with where they try and put a lot of theme in. A lot of them are just pushing cardboard around or pushing miniatures around.
Yeah, there's there's a lot of games that have got a pasted on theme that gets talked about.
Yeah. Wingspan.
Wingspan's got. Yeah, I mean, you're doing things with birds. I mean,
I think that's probably a game that the theme elevates it. If it was just like a card game where you were trading goods or something like that.
People like that one, the art definitely gets a lot of love.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be as popular as it is.
No.
And obviously, with it being rethemed to different things, worms and now fish, it shows that the theme isn't really the game. It's kind of the stuff on top of that shines through. But that's obviously a really popular one, and possibly because of the, people like the theme of the birds and the feeders and the cards with it, not really nice artwork on them and things like that.
Yeah.
What about the bigger games, like I say, like The Witcher? There's a few D&D games, isn't there? I've got a couple of dungeon crawlers that have got quite a lot of theme in. There's Massive Darkness, that's obviously a fantasy theme, but it kind of does its own thing, its own sort of spin on fantasy, and I guess like Gloomhaven and Frosthaven do a similar sort of thing, aren't they? They're kind of fantasy themed, but... Yeah,
there's quite a lot... There's a lot of things in that kind of genre.
They kind of put their own little twist on it and their own little... thing to make it a bit different.
So then so then for me that would come down to whether I sort of like that twist or the way that game does it. I might sort of pick that kind of genre of games because I like that theme, but then it would be, in terms of which ones, it'd be more what I liked about the game in a more mechanical sense. So I suppose that's a good way of thinking about it. Actually, the theme might sort of give me some broad ideas about what sorts of games I might like. I'm perhaps less fussed about, I'm less fussed about sort of historical war games as a theme, so I don't tend to play those very much because that's not a theme I'm fussed about. I've played a lot of train games, actually, although I do want to try 18XX at some point. But I've never been particularly fussed about playing, say, the Cube Rails games. They've not really appealed to me. I mean, I suppose I might enjoy them, I don't know, but they just haven't appealed. And there's enough games to go round that...
Oh, yeah.
You can't afford to be choosy, really, in our situation. When you're in a club, you can...
Well, we played one a couple of weeks ago called Video Game Championship.
Yeah.
And that was themed against... that was the theme of sort of kids playing video games and getting high scores and things like that and competing against each other to finish them.
Yeah, that theme was quite an interesting one. I don't know how I didn't play it, so I don't know quite how it played or what was it like mechanically? What were the kind of mechanics in it? Can you remember?
It's kind of a Euro-ish game. You've got sort of a row of cards at the top, and you can either rent them or kind of buy them outright with your resources. But it's a lot of sort of time management as well. You have to spend your actions either getting more money or completing jobs and saving up for the weekend where you could actually get these games and then you play them and then you get. You go up on tracks depending on which ones you're playing and try and it is a fairly mechanical game, but I think the theme really helps it to.
Might have to try that at some point.
Yeah, the theme really helps it out to sort of because it does go with the mechanics, which helps with kind of explaining the game and learning it and playing it as well. So that was a good one, and it was good to see all the artwork on there. They're not real video games; they're just made up ones, but they look like
they look like real ones. I had a quick look at some of them. They did look like.
So do any themes put you off? I mean, some possibly being overused over the years.
I've obviously already mentioned sort of the theme of war and sort of war type games is not my bag.
Yeah.
What else?
Cthulhu games. There's quite a lot of those about.
I've never really gone into Cthulhu for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure why. I've played some Cthulhu games, but none of them have hugely grabbed me.
Yeah. What about the miniatures? Do you think they help out with the theme as well? If they've got like little minis and monsters and things like that. I find that usually helps.
Yeah, I think they do. I think it's nicer if they're painted.
Yeah.
I think that can add quite a bit. So one game I have got with minis that's quite thematic, I think, would be Mechs vs Minions.
Oh yeah,
it's got nicely the character minis and the big boss mini are all nicely painted. The little minions are
they're pre-painted, aren't they?
Painted,
they came like that.
Pre-painted. I think the little minions are just washed, but are still very nice. And it's certainly much nicer than just having sort of tokens and things.
Yeah.
You sort of. It feels like more like your sort of characters mowing through mobs, and that one, that one's quite nice with all the nice boards and things, and you do feel a bit like you're in sort of an amateur in control of a machine with all the with your things. I'm going to go this way, then backwards, and go, I don't remember going anymore.
Yeah.
Oh god, this bit's broken. Help.
Yeah.
Whirling around a bit at random, which is quite fun.
There was a few years ago. There was a sort of glut of kind of zombie games, and like every other game was kind of based on that, and people sort of get a little bit fed up of it and wanted something different, and something different.
Yes.
With a different theme, and even though they might have been good games and they might have been well produced or like really good games, people were still kind of put off a little bit. I think, not another one of these kind of games.
Yeah, I think that definitely can happen.
Yeah,
with video games as well to some extent, but certainly things like zombies or fantasy can get overused, and then you get to, like I said, not another zombie game or fantasy game or whatever.
Yeah.
So then you don't tend to look at it as much when it might be a game actually you might have quite liked.
Yeah.
So there is that.
So do you see that happening currently? So that like the current sort of trend in games is kind of animal games. We spoke about Harmonies a couple of episodes ago, but cozy kind of games with animals and like anthropomorphic artwork and stuff. Do you think that'll sort of run its course at some point, and then something else will come along?
It might do. Yeah, there are quite a few. I think one advantage that maybe has is you can be a bit more varied. I don't know. Something like zombies is a little bit more narrow, possibly. Doesn't know, because it's sort of you fighting undead monsters. There's sort of there's not quite so much scope there. But with animals, there's no sort of there is an inherent plot, I suppose, or an inherent. So you can set them in different worlds. You could have different things. You could have different types of animals as the bad guys or the good guys.
Yeah.
Or even
cooperative or not.
Good or bad guys. Yeah, there's a bit more. There's more space to do different things there.
Yeah.
I mean, fantasy, I suppose, will be a bit wider again, but then again, fantasy universes tend to have backgrounds and good characters, bad characters, and a sort of implied plot that would exist, if you like. So there's sort of already some implied sort of lore there.
Yeah.
Already, so again, that's just restricting the scope a little bit, perhaps.
For example,
I don't know.
So what's the most thematic game that you've played?
Well, I don't know. I think the one that springs to mind that sort of prompted this is actually Unfair.
All right. Okay.
The theme park building game.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
It is sort of interesting because it's one that I actually pretty much bought on the strength of the theme, I think. Because I'd seen it, something about it somewhere, and then I saw it being played at the club, and this was about 6-7 years ago now, certainly easily pre-COVID, and thought, this looks sort of really nice, and I like the artwork, we'll get this. And now a game I really like, because I sort of, whenever I'm playing it, it's sort of one of the few card games where it doesn't really feel like the cards are cards. They're sort of so dripping with artwork and theme. It feels like they're bits of a theme park for me. It's sort of it feels like I'm adding a loop to this ride, or doing this, or doing that, or doing the other.
Yeah.
It's sort of somehow the styling of them is sort of somehow different. So different to sort of other cards where they've got a cost and when you're doing the iconography. The sort of the layout somehow, because it's almost like sort of full card art layout, even though it's got writing and text and stuff. The sort of somehow there's no kind of like white space anywhere or anything like that you would get in a lot of games. So it makes it sort of much more thematic somehow for me.
Yeah, it is a good one. That the different decks give you different
things
feelings as well. They play different ways, which is really cool, and they're all thematic to like the Wild West or the whatever
ninjas or pirates or jungle or
whatever. Yeah. So,
but it does, I think it's the cards in particular for me that just sort of stand out somehow as not having any. They just sort of seem. I don't quite know how to describe it really. Other than what I've already said. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's a good one. That I never thought of that one, but there's not enough theme park games. I don't think. I think there should be more.
No, as well. It's quite nice, but it's just sort of the whole package of the box and the cards and the to play the central board and things like that, and the way the game works.
Yeah.
And sort of the events and stuff. It just sort of feels I don't know. It feels more than just a based on theme. It's it's sort of there throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It's very much a theme park game.
Yeah.
And it's very much intertwined with the game as much as you're building a little bit of a tableau. You are very much building up the rides and giving them features and things. So.
Yeah.
What about you? What would you say is the most thematic one you've played?
Well, we did play Cthulhu: Death May Die recently.
Yeah.
That was pretty thematic. It's kind of a dungeon crawler type of thing where you're going around and fighting monsters, but there is a little bit of a story as well where different things will happen depending on what scenario you're playing through. So that one was quite good. What about things like story games? Like have you played Seventh Continent or Sleeping Gods or anything like that?
Yeah, I've played Seventh Continent a bit. I've got Seventh Continent with a few expansions, and it's sort of waiting to be played.
Yeah, I think they're, because they're story based and you're kind of reading out stuff. They're quite thematic, aren't they? They kind of get you into the story and the characters and the world that you're sort of getting into. There's a new one as well. Is it Continent?
Seventh Citadel came out last year, I think. Yeah,
which is a similar sort of thing.
At some point, I've still got most of Seventh Continent to do, so we'll see.
Right, yeah, it is. Yeah, there's quite a lot of story in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
One game series of games that I thought of as well was kind of the unlock or escape room games, either exit or unlock or whatever. They're basically all the same game. You're kind of solving puzzles and going around, but each one's got a different theme, so they're kind of just wrapped around the story and the place where you're actually locked into or you're trying to escape from. But it's kind of the same, not the same puzzles, but the same kind of type of game that's just repeated, but the theme is that what makes it different each time. And you might pick up based on I quite like that theme of it being a haunted cabin or an abandoned theme park or a... Yeah, there's definitely some that I've enjoyed more than the others just because of the theme of it and the story.
Yeah, the first box of few unlocked ones had, I think one of them was like themed on like it was a 90s video game, which I quite thought was quite a nice one as a theme.
Yeah.
I've played one from a box that was themed on board games. I did one themed on Ticket to Ride, which was quite good. On trades and things.
That's very meta, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't remember what the other two were now off the top of my head.
Yeah, Pandemic and...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's another one as well.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, there were three of them in the box. I can't remember the other one.
So, the theme of it is definitely, I think, a factor in those kind of things.
The other thematic one that I've played that I wanted to mention was Alien, Fate of the Nostromo.
Oh, right, yeah.
This is the one based on the original movie, the 70s movie. So it's got all the artwork from the film in there. It's got the characters, the likenesses of the actors who were in the actual film.
Oh, right, nice.
And I think that's what makes it thematic.
That'll really help.
Yeah, because it kind of follows the story of the film as well. So all the cards and everything, all the artwork looks like it was from that period and from that kind of film, and you've got all the things that you recognise in there. So that was quite good. Cooperative game, so you're kind of playing together, and the end goal as well changes depending on the game that you're playing. So sometimes you'll have to blow out the airlock, sometimes you have to escape on the escape pod, sometimes you have to set the self-destruct the ship that you're on. So that helps with it as well. You're never quite sure until you hit the end of the game what you're aiming for towards what the final goal is going to be, which is quite cool. I think that helps with the theme and the story of it as well. That's quite a good one. We do seem to be getting away from the kind of beige trading in the Mediterranean games, don't we? There's a lot more colourful themes and a lot more variety now than there was even like 5-10 years ago, whatever. It does seem to be a lot more choice now and a lot of different.
Yeah, I suppose partly because if you keep doing the same thing over and again, it gets done to death. So it gets a bit boring. You need to start standing out a bit more. Yeah. And the theme is a good way to do that. I've not seen that theme in a game before.
Yeah.
I haven't seen 1940s knife design or something, or putting together IKEA furniture or something. I don't know. I don't think either of those exist, but
I'm sure there are. There's lots of themes where it's kind of worn off, and it's probably never going to be repeated again. I'm sure there'll be.
Yeah, I mean, I think one theme thing I'll just mention. It was a game that I think I've come across somewhere once. It was a deck building game about building a deck in your garden.
All right.
So I think it was called Deck Builder, the deck building game or something.
All right. About actually building a deck. Yeah, decking. Yeah.
Yeah. Which was cool. I think they did it entirely for that reason, but I think that is a genuine game. I don't know how good it is, but yeah.
Right. So I think that's pretty much covered thematic games. Anything else you want to add, or?
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
No, right. Cool. Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Then that's all the games we've played. We've had our discussion about thematic games. Thank you very much for joining me, Samuel. It's been great talking to you as usual.
Yeah. Thank you, Rick. Yes, it's been great talking to you too.
Thank you very much. We've been Sheffield Board Gamers. We'll catch you on the next episode. Goodbye for now.
Bye for now.